of my favorite stories that you've told me before is you were hitchhiking and you ended up in like a little town. I was wondering if you could tell that story.
Oh, so hitchhiking in Mozambique is really common. Like everybody does it, not just foreigners. So sometimes it's even safer than taking public transportation because there are a lot of crashes and the drivers drive really fast. So it's like sometimes when I'd go from one place to another, I would default to hitchhiking. So after about a year in Mozambique, I was pretty good at it. Like it's an art. Hitchhiking is an art. You don't just stick your finger out and like it doesn't just happen. So I was pretty ambitious and I wanted to go from the southernmost point of Mozambique to the northernmost point and just by hitchhiking. So I was like about halfway through and by the way, I did not tell Peace Corps where I was or what I was doing. I didn't tell any of my friends what I was doing because I didn't want anybody to rat me out. Some of my closest friends in Peace Corps, they don't even know that I did this because like I just haven't told them. Anyway, so I'm like halfway through and I was in this 18-wheeler and he had told me he was going to Sofala, which is the state right in the middle. It's like the most dangerous place in Mozambique. It's where a lot of the guerrilla warfare happens. They're like guerrilla fighters in the jungle that will just terrorize the cars and whatnot and loot them. And anyways, a lot of shit that happens there. So I'm in this 18-wheeler and he's like, I'm going to Beira, which is the biggest city in Sofala. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds good. And then we're like halfway through and it's getting dark. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to stop here and I'm just not going to keep going with you. I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? So I'm in the middle of nowhere and he's asking me to get out. And I'm like, okay. So I get out with my backpack and he just keeps going. Like he could have taken me. But I think he was like, if something happens to this American woman in my car, like, in some shit. And so I kind of saw it that way at the time, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, it must be, like, pretty rough out there." So it's getting dark, and I just pick a path, and mind you, there's nothing around. Okay, it's a dirt road, and then it's, like, semi-arid desert around. Like, a bush here, a bush there, a tree here, a tree there, some houses in the distance. And so I'm like, "Okay, just pick a path and start walking," and I had every intention of just camping, right? So I had my tent but I had to get far enough away from the road that nobody could see me because I didn't want something bad to happen to me. So I just start walking, and eventually I get, like, kind of close to this house, and this kid runs out, and he's like, "Mazongoo," which means white person, and he's so excited. He's like, "I just found this rare animal in my house." Like, so excited. And I'm just like, "Hi, can I camp here?" This kid's like 4 years old, doesn't speak Portuguese, and he's like, "Ooh." At this point, he's speaking I forget, I think it was Shona? I think, yeah, Shona is it's a different language. I didn't understand anything he was saying besides Mzungu, white person. So, he runs into the house, this woman comes out, I ask her if I can camp. She says yes. She's not quite as excited to see me. She's just like, "Yeah, fine." So, I set up my tent, and I had, like, saltine crackers and peanut butter. So I'm just like sat like in the tent, like, what am I gonna do tomorrow? Like, how's the rest of this gonna be? Like, what the hell is going on? And then they like came out and offered me dinner, so I had dinner with them. They were so sweet. They're the most gracious hosts. And like my tent is not necessarily like in their backyard, but it's like the only house around. So I'm like a little bit away from like where they've combed the sand, which is like where their yard ends, I guess. I'm like just outside of that. Um, I go to sleep, didn't sleep very well, but I get woken up at like 5 in the morning by a horde of screaming children. And they're just like, we have to see her. We have to see thing. So I like open my tent and they're just like, you would have thought that they saw some kind of alien creature. They just went nuts. They were so excited. And they're like touching my hair, like grabbing it. And I'm just like, what is going on? This is not completely new, like, this had happened to me before, of course, because, like, kids are just so innocent. Like, they're just not used to seeing people like me, so they were so pumped. And yeah, I packed up my tent and then tried to get a ride again. It was pretty tumultuous. I ended up one night I had to sleep on this porch with this other woman, this Mozambican woman who was like, "Okay, I'll sleep for a couple hours and then you sleep for a couple hours." So we're like taking turns sleeping on this porch in the middle of nowhere, like just on the concrete. Um, yeah, it was honestly such a wild ride. Like I ended up making it up as far as I could go north. Um, but there was some Taliban activity. Like I would have had to cross through this Taliban territory, so I didn't do that because I was like, this feels like real danger. I'm not gonna do that.
Every now and then you hit the risk limit, you know?
For sure. And it's like Taliban? Yeah, probably not. Probably not. I'm American after all. Like this is not gonna go well. Yeah, that was a insane trip. I also like at one point I was in an open back, like a pickup truck, sitting on a bag of coconuts for like 10 hours or something like that. And there was this woman with two goats. And at one point, like the hatch of the truck, it fell open and one of the goats like rolled out. It was out there, quite a scandal. And I'm just like sitting on this bag of coconuts, holding on for pure dear life, thinking, is this the day I die? Am I also gonna roll out of this truck?
Did they go back and collect the goat?
Yeah, yeah. She's screaming for the guy to stop. He can't hear her. So we get like 100 meters after where the goat came out. Finally, he stops. She runs out. I run out to help her. The goat was fine. It's that most important brand. It was totally fine. It was walking. And then she was like, oh, the goat's pregnant. I was like, well, probably not anymore. So yeah, that was a good time, that hitchhiking trip. Yeah, but I would hitchhike everywhere. I was like, every weekend, any chance I could, I was like, I need a break from my town. And I say that with so much love, like, because I do have still friends to this day from that town, and I love them, and I really enjoyed my time there. But the weeks go by so slowly when you're not on your phone or, in front of a screen all day or, jumping from one thing to the next constantly. So it really did feel like time moved more slowly. And by the time the weekend would roll around, I was like, okay, I need like some kind of external interaction. Like, I need to go like have a bag of chips or something.
See some new sand.
Yeah, and I would go to the Capitol a lot because I kind of had a double life. Like, I had this group of, like, party friends in the capital city. They were really cool. They were, like, musicians and artists, and I always gravitate towards people like that. So, um, I loved hanging out with them because it was like a numbing, like, coping mechanism for sure. And was it the healthiest? No, but I do have, like, great memories from just hanging out with them and, like, going around the capital city like doing crazy stuff. Yeah, dancing a lot, and it was nice because I was like 5 hours away. Well, 5 hours like hitchhiking, 7 hours on public transportation from the capital city, so I'd go every once in a while to decompress.
Uh-huh. Let loose a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was down living in Bolivia, when I was in the jungle, and I was like pretty rural, you know, like we were basically living in virgin Amazon, and the closest town would be like an hour away hitchhiking, and like I was hitchhiking all the time down there, and the hitchhiking was just hilarious. Like it was the only way to get around. There wasn't really public transport. Every now and then, like a collectivo would roll through, you know, um, but the hitchhiking is like you just got in what you could get in, you know, and they were super like lovely to try to help the gringo out get to town. So like there was one time I was in a trailer with cows, like a 18 wheeler, and I was like in the back with the cows. There was another time when like this van pulled over, and there was like it was full, so there would have been 11 people in a seven seater, and they pulled over and they were like, "Get in." And I was like, "What do you mean get in?" You know what I mean? It's like literally it's already people sitting on laps. And then like I just got in and then someone sat on my lap, you know? And they're just like, "Get this gringo to town." I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" It's like it's insane, but it's also epic. And they make it work with like such limited resources, you know? And like I cherish those memories.
Yeah, anything really good. I feel like I can tell you this because you've been there, but, like, I've realized that I've normalized this stuff, so I don't even know what to say about it sometimes because for me, it's like, yeah, someone was sitting on your lap, duh, like, or somebody handed you their child. Like, people used to give me their babies all the time. They're like, "She looks trustworthy. Take this baby." So I'd be, like, holding a baby that I didn't know, like, on public transit, and then all of a sudden, like, the mom would get up and she'd be like, "Give me the baby." And they just take the baby away, and I was like, "Oh, but I just bonded with this little child. Now you're gonna take her away?"
I know you're probably a little rusty in the Shangala. If you can whip out a sentence or two, I'd love to just hear like the sound of it.
Yeah. Okay. Minani Emily, hmm, nawala siyang Giza, Nicombela Mati, um, I don't know what else to say. Like, tell me to say something and I'll say it.
Are you cooking dinner tonight, or can you feed me?
Nawala kucha?
Yeah, I imagine that was a fun experience. I just there's this book that I love. It's called Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes. And I don't know, have you read that? Yeah, write that down. You'd love it. It's about this American missionary who goes down and lives with this tribe in Brazil, and the they've never translated their language. So he basically went down there, and his mission was to learn their language good enough that he could translate the gospel to try and convert them. And the language is just completely foreign, like one of one. And it's just this guy's adventure trying to like put it all together. And the book ends, and he ends up like leaving Catholicism and leaving being a missionary because he basically gets converted by them, and it's just epic.
I need to read that book. That feels like a universal experience.
Yeah, I think you would love it. And yeah, there's just so many good pieces in that book where their like identity and their culture is so firm in like who they are and what they are and what they do, you know. And he's down there, the same thing again. He's like trying to help them do things, you know. And basically, like down there, like they need canoes to live, and they basically like sometimes make these kind of crappy canoes out of like husk and sticks and stuff. But the Brazilians who are like up the river, they make the really nice like wood canoes, you know. So they come to him, they're like, Dan, all our canoes are rotten. We need a new one. And he's like, okay, like I'll buy you one, but like why don't I when I go up there, why don't I get the guy who makes the canoes to come down and like teach you how to make them? And they're like, yeah, that'd be so good. That'd be so good. We'd love that. So they make this like these plans, and this guy, the teacher comes down, and they spend the week making like solid wood canoes out of trees. And the instructor doesn't touch anything, and he gets them to make the whole thing. And they're all like super stoked at the end. They have like two epic canoes. The teacher leaves, and then like a year passes, and they're like, "Oh, Dan, the canoes are fucked. Can you get us a new canoe?" And he's like, "You guys made the canoes. Like you learned how to do it." And he goes, "Oh no, we don't make canoes. That's for the Brazilians." And it's like, not only do they not care at all about what's going on in the outside world, it's like they actually repel it. Like they just won't even let it in. It's not who they are, you know?
Wow. That's so funny because I felt like in Mozambique sometimes that would happen. Like, people would ask me to help them with their computer or something, which is, like, really funny because there are really only 2 places in town with reliable electricity to, like, use a computer. So I was like, for example, the at the school, they're like, "We need a better way to keep track of the grades." So I went and helped them learn how to use Excel, did all of this, work with them, like, it was a process of a few weeks, like training the teachers how to use Excel, like really basic stuff. And like, I don't say that to say that like they couldn't do it because of course they can, but they were like, okay, now you put in all the grades. I was like, I just spent all this time, like literally the same as what you just said. Like, I spent all this time teaching you guys how to use Excel so that you could put in the grades. No, 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 no. You know how to do this better. So you do it. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing that because there were hundreds of students at the school. They would walk from 5, 6 miles away just to go to school. So there's so many students, and all the teachers are overwhelmed with how many students they have and all like the grade inputting process. You could feel the tension in the air every time a semester was ending because the teachers hated doing it. And then I was like, you guys hate doing it for just your students, but you want me to do it for the whole school.
Uh,
I think I said one time to them in a meeting, like, "I am not a computer," and all of the teachers were like, "Eh, oh, eh," like, surprised that I had said that. Like, "What do you mean?"
Thanks so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, don't forget to like and subscribe below. It really helps a growing channel like this out. And click up here. It'll take you to a collection of the best this podcast has to offer.